Hi, this is going to be a little screencast to show you how to use the Trigger Mesh CLI TM and talk to the Trigger Mesh SaaS. So if you log into Trigger Mesh, cloud.triggermesh.io, and of course you've registered on the early adopters program, you log into our SaaS, you have a beautiful console dashboard, and you can do a lot of things through this dashboard. Okay, it's very pretty, but then you can also do a lot of things. But if you're like me and you like to use the terminal, you need a CLI. So we do have a CLI, it's called TM. It's a generic CLI for Knative, but of course it has some nice functionality that we've developed that makes things easy to deploy functions into our cloud. So we need to do two things to get started with the CLI. We need to get to github.com/triggermesh/tm, go to the release page, and then download the bundle either for Linux or for Mac, depending what platform you're on. All right. So we download the release, and then once you're logged into the SaaS, you'll see at the top right there's a cloud icon with an arrow, and it says download TM config. If you over the button, you'll see download TM config. So we're going to download this file. This file contains the credentials to be able to talk to our cloud. Okay, so here we are. We have downloaded the TM release from GitHub. We have downloaded the credential files. Now we're gonna head over to our terminal. We're happy. We are on the terminal and not on the UI. So what we're going to do is that I'm going to move TM OS X, and I'm going to move it here to my desktop and call it TM. I'm going to make it executable, and actually I'm going to move it again and put it in /bin, right? And then just for good measures, I'm going to source, so that now if I do a which TM is in my path, and if I do TM version, it tells me that Trigger Mesh CLI is on version v008. Yes, it is very early. And then we're going to move the credential files, the config.json, which is currently in my download folder. I'm going to move it here as well in my desktop. Perfect. And now what happens? Well, what happens is that you can say, hey, tm --config. You specify which config file you're using, config.json, which is local to my desktop, and now you can say get services, right? And it tells you nothing. And you can do get.routes to configure the routes and configure traffic splitting to your different functions, right? And you can do builds if you have builds in your system, right? And then you can also look at the build templates that you have. So you see that, for example, I do have quite a few build templates. If it's the first time you're using Trigger Mesh, you'll see that you have quite a few templates that we call cluster scoped, and you can use those templates right away. And we try to do this so that at first you don't have to worry about the templates. All right. So perfect. You're now talking to the Trigger Mesh Cloud using the CLI, and of course, what you like to do is start your first service. So if you go back to the Trigger Mesh TM page on GitHub, you'll see the first line here, and we can just copy paste it almost. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick it there, and I'm going to here specify the config file that we downloaded, right? So I just modified what I pasted. We're going to create a service called foo. It's really the simplest form of a service because we're using an existing container image, right? Here it says creating foo function, waiting for foo to be ready, and once it deploys this, here you go. It's listed. If I go back and that I do a get services, I'll see that it tells me, hey, now I have a foo service. Perfect. If I go back to the UI and I refresh my list of services, you see that I have the service that I created from the CLI. Perfect. Let's go back to the terminal and let's do a curl of this URL. And we have the hello world. And I believe that we should also be able to call it over HTTPS. certificate is invalid, but we can do a -k. I mean, it is a valid certificate. Just okay. Okay, great, perfect. Once you're done with this, get services foo, you can simply delete the service. Delete services foo. Perfect, and you're done. And if you want to keep things a little bit easier, you just move the config file to a TM subfolder, and now because it's there, that's where the TM CLI is going to look. And now when you do get services, it's going to return, but you don't have to specify the config file. All right, so yeah, use the dashboard or use the very powerful TM CLI. Thank you.